Hey, this is just a few things I wanted to share with you. I think a while ago I was talking about Super Y, which is a kids show that I hate, which I'll just go over the reasons a little bit. It's about a lot of sort of fairy tale-ish characters, but not really, that are never animated as actually walking because the animators think it's too hard. And they learn lessons that are really dumb, and usually the story that teaches the lesson is based on a fairy tale or some kind of famous story, but they always change the plot so it doesn't have anything to do with the original story, and often kind of like twist it so that it has the opposite moral or just a totally unrelated moral to the original story. Like The Little Mermaid was about how the Little Mermaid should accept that she's a mermaid. Okay. Anyways, I just recorded a little bit of an episode because it was so bad, but I taped it right off of the TV, and I just realized the sound isn't actually very good, so I'm going to voice over it and tell you what's happening. So basically, here's all the little assholes. There's the princess, there's Red Riding Hood, so called even though she doesn't actually resemble Little Red Riding Hood besides wearing red. The kid in green is Super Y, with the power to read books and misinterpret what they're really about. And then there's the pig, who's just called Pig, which is kind of rude. They've brought their awful ghost friend to this party thrown by a vampire, even though he hates scary things, and he's terrified by the two-dimensional pumpkins and the two-dimensional balloons. Man, they put so much work into this. And, basically, the ghost gets so scared of the party that he can, for some reason, do spells, so he floats around and he makes all of the party decorations disappear. And so then, when the vampire gets mad at him, because the ghost is an asshole, he flies outside and he does another spell and he makes the vampire's house disappear, leaving him homeless, just because the ghost doesn't personally enjoy scary parties. And so at the end of this, the special magic word that they uncover to tell them what the lesson is pretend, meaning that the little ghost learns that he shouldn't be afraid of vampires and Halloween things because they're pretend, but he's a ghost. Another thing I wanted to show you is another song thing that I saw on the very same channel. When I first saw it, I couldn't believe it, and my friend Matthew suggested to me that maybe the reason it's so weird is that it's intended to be a reference to the B-52s, but that's just like way too ambitious for like a bad song on this channel, because they didn't pull it off. Instead of getting down, get down to work. That'll work. Do, 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 do. Your hamster is looking uninspired. An obstacle course, of course. What's required is a sky bridge. The final thing in this anthology of videos is my review of The Disaster Artist, which I made immediately after I saw the movie, which was pretty soon after it came out. But at this point, I think if you're interested in The Disaster Artist, you've probably already seen it, and my review is going to be useless. But I didn't want to post it because I was like super drunk when I made it, and I wanted to make sure it was coherent, but it actually like is fine, so I should have just posted it. Okay, this is my rough draft of a review of The Disaster Artist. I'm really drunk, so I'll probably look at this more, edit it tomorrow, and make it into a better review. I think initially I felt a little disappointed by the movie, which I think is partly because my friend and I were like, well, should we go to The Room tonight, or should we go to this movie about The Room? And we were like, oh, we'll go to the movie about The Room, because going to The Room is always kind of a commitment because it's at midnight. And sometimes I'm just kind of like old and don't want to stay up that late. So we went to The Disaster Artist, and I was like, this isn't as good as The Room. It's just a bunch of people trying to do impressions of all the actors that were in the room. So that's kind of how I felt. Then I had a lot to drink, and I started to enjoy it as much as I enjoy The Room. So I'm not the most impressive fan of The Room. I probably watched it at home like 5 times and watched it at the movies like 5 times. I like to go see it at the Clay in San Francisco where I live. It's always like the 5 or whatever times that I've gone, it's been like a wonderful experience. It's just like so just great to be around The Room, which is wonderful to watch, and just like all the people that are so into it. It's an ideal experience. However, this movie, I haven't actually read the book. I know my friends Matthew and Briar have read it, so maybe they can let me know if they think the movie is like an accurate adaptation of the book. When I was watching it, I was like, is this interesting to people who aren't really into The Room? Or is it more interesting to those people? Like, to me, I'm just kind of like, here's a bunch of people doing impressions of the actors in The Room. The diner that they went to towards the beginning, although it looked like an Italian restaurant, the layout and the outside really reminded me of Peter's Cafe. And I wonder if it was supposed to be that restaurant. I should probably look that up in a minute. I thought Zac Efron was definitely the most valuable player. His performance as Chris R was like incredibly amazing. Although I will say, like, every actor in the movie who was playing an actor in The Room did an amazing job portraying that character. When I first heard about this movie, I was like, it's kind of weird for James Franco to play Tommy Wiseau, because James Franco is just like way too conventionally handsome. But he really did it. And like, Dave Franco was interesting as Testosterone, which is what fans of The Room call Greg Sestero. I think what was kind of interesting about him was like, he's certainly like a good looking guy, but I think he has like a look that's like a bit more like vulnerable and geeky than the way that Greg Sestero looks. Like, Greg Sestero is just kind of effortlessly good looking. So I don't know, it made the character feel like more vulnerable than he would be if he was played by like his actual self. So it kind of gave the movie like kind of an interesting feel. I guess maybe it kind of emphasized the fact that Tommy in fact had a lot of power over Greg and was like rather manipulative to him. You know, the fact that Tommy is played by this very beautiful man and that Greg is played by like a somewhat more, I guess, vulnerable and geeky looking man. Not that there's anything wrong with the way that Dave Franco looks. He's good looking. But you get where I'm going with this, maybe? Like, I feel like at the end when you see Testosterone, like, for real, in the flesh, you're like, shit, he's, like, so, like, handsome. And, like, I don't know. What else did I think? I felt like it might not be a totally accurate portrayal of what happened. I've read some of Juliet Danielle's, like, writing and, like, read it AMAs about what happened, and it seemed like she said that she was like a replacement for like at least one or two previous actors that were cast as Lisa, and that isn't in the movie. I also thought that Greg wasn't the like original actor who was cast as Mark, was he? So I was kind of disappointed they left that out. It was interesting to see Seth Rogen in the Hawaiian shirts playing the guy who later tried to come out and like insist that he actually wrote like The Room, or that at least he was the guy who actually made it good or whatever, which I find hard to believe because Tommy Wiseau is just like so hilarious and like weird as a person. Like, I fully believe that that came completely from him. I don't know, I feel like this movie may not have like lived up to the reviews that I saw as like a huge fan of The Room, but I'm not sure that anything could have. Like, it's disappointing for me, like, if I think I'm gonna see The Room and I see anything else other than The Room, because I can't think of anything that I enjoy watching more. Josh, my best friend, somebody that I recently showed The Room to like a year ago, and he probably would like this movie because his response was like, oh, well, the movie was kind of fun to watch, but I'm just really curious about like this guy and how it got made. So anyway, he wanted to know about Alison Brie and how much she was in the movie. The answer is like not a ton. She's in it somewhat. I don't know. I don't know if she had anything like really interesting to do besides just like be herself. She was fine. There's one thing that I can't get over is that I really recognize one of the actresses in the movie, but I can't remember who she is or what I know her from, so I'm going to try to stop talking about it because, like, I was thinking about it through the whole movie and I couldn't figure out what she was from. I'm upset just thinking about her. But Anyway, an interesting movie. I'm a little confused that it's in like theaters and it's like a big thing. I think maybe like I'm being a hipster and I'm like a little resentful that like more people are gonna be into The Room, but I don't really resent that. I want like as many people as possible to be into The Room. I guess I just resent it a little bit that I can't impulsively decide to go because it's going to be sold out. But I guess that's why they've started having it more nights, so that more people can go to it now because it's more popular. So, yeah, Zac Efron, the best actor. Amazing. I loved seeing him in this. The other, like, the actors that were cast as, like, all the other actors in The Room, I felt like you didn't actually see that much of them. I think it was just kind of for fun. It was fun to see Hannibal Buress and, like, all the other actors who obviously just, like, really wanted to be in this movie. That's cool. I think everybody who, like, played an actor from a room did, like, I'm really drunk. Every actor who played an actor from The Room did a pitch-perfect imitation of them, and that was cool to watch. Dave Franco's performance as Greg was really amazing, like almost more than James's performance as Johnny. He sounded just like exactly like Greg, and it was like crazy to watch. I felt like the movie made a weird attempt to emphasize every famous part from the movie. I'm obviously too drunk to really articulate this. It was interesting. I might be enjoying it because I'm so drunk and because I love The Room so much. I'm honestly not sure if it's better to watch this movie if you're a big fan of The Room or if you're not. If you have any more questions, I will try to answer them tomorrow when I'm sober. If that day ever comes. Oh, one more thing. I can't really do a good review of any movie because I'm a woman. Hilarious. My final things, having read a little bit more about the movie, are that, like, I think overall I didn't really think that it was a great movie. And, I think maybe it tried too hard to try to make the story of Tommy Wiseau into something inspiring. And my impression is that in the original book, he's presented as much more of a jerk, but that maybe they weren't really able to show that in the movie because he would have tried to stop the movie from being made. And I imagine it must be kind of weird for testosterone. I don't really understand all the complexities of him, like, writing this book that's, like, quite critical of Tommy, but, like, continuing, obviously, to go around and, like, promote The Room with him and stuff like that. But maybe there's just some kind of awkward stuff going on in there. Yeah, I'm really... I guess I feel like of the cast of The Room, I'm most interested in Juliette Danielle. Like, I feel awful for her, and I really admire how tough she has been. Like, the fact that she tries to, like, be good-humored and, like, go with it and promote the movie, even though a lot of fan enjoyment of The Room, unfortunately, is based on, like, insulting her appearance, which even as a fan of The Room, I just don't really agree with people doing. And it sucks. I think it would really suck to be in a movie like that when you're really young and be kind of pushed into doing nude scenes and then have so many people, like, make a joke out of your appearance for such a long time. I read a really good article about this, and it was kind of about her feelings and stuff and how, like, she sort of tries to participate in, like, the Room fandom, but also, like, won't actually, like, watch the movie herself or, like, sit in a screening of the movie herself. I gotta find it. It was written by a girl that I went to college with who was very nice, but I'm still, like, you know, sickeningly jealous of her that she got to write this article. But I will try to find it and link it despite my jealousy. Anyway, I think that's about it. I haven't edited all these things together, so I'm hoping that after I do, they'll all basically make sense and this won't be a huge mess since I filmed all of these videos quite a ways apart from each other.